Hello there. So, yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of these vlogs, I'm afraid. And part of the reason is because I've had an incredibly busy second half to 2018. And I'm not going to lie, I was kind of losing a little bit of inspiration as well, because I didn't really know if these vlogs were really worth it, if people were really interested, and also what kind of topics I should really concentrate on as well. So it's been a bit of a difficult struggle to try and keep these going on a regular basis, just kind of finding the time. Life, I guess, just kind of got in the way. And really, I suppose the topic that I'm going to cover in this video is something that I've been dealing with for quite some time, and it's something that I know a lot of people I've spoken to, a lot of people I know also struggle with this, either from time to time or on a permanent basis. And I know there's lots of ways of coping with anxiety, and one of the most obvious would be to go to the doctor and get medication. Now, if I want to start this video by saying that if you have a really, really serious issue with anxiety, depression, stress, you need to go and see your GP, because a video that I make is really not going to be a substitute for the kind of advice and help that they can offer you. It can be a bit of a struggle, and I think this is part of the problem that people with anxiety have, and I know this is something I've had myself, is trying to get a doctor to take your anxiety seriously, to be able to provide you with the help that you need, be that medication, be that referring you for some kind of counselling. It can be an uphill struggle, but if it's really that serious, you need to go to a doctor and get some serious treatment for it. That said, there are sort of general everyday coping mechanisms that you can use to help kind of alleviate certain symptoms of anxiety, and this is something that I've been dealing with for the last sort of 10 years or so. I'm lucky enough to have had counselling through work. I live in an area where there isn't a wide sort of counselling network, certainly not available through sort of NHS treatment and things like that. So for me, having those support lines there was incredibly useful, and I know this isn't available to everyone, so I'm going to share with you today some of the tips, some of the coping mechanisms that I've picked up through these counselling sessions that I've had at various points over the years. You may know as well from the past that I've done videos on things such as living with dermatophagia, which is basically biting the skin around the nails or the inside of the cheek, that sort of thing, and that in itself is done as it's a kind of symptom of anxiety. It really is. A lot of people who have anxiety suffer with things like that, biting nails, biting skin, biting the inside of their cheeks, because it's something that you can control. But that's not really a very good coping mechanism, if I'm perfectly honest with you. So what are some of the other things that you can do? Now, when you suffer with anxiety, you can find that your breathing can become quite shallow, and you sometimes feel like you've got pressure on your chest, which is quite scary. It makes you feel like you're really struggling to breathe, and you might think that there's something seriously wrong with you. There isn't, trust me. It's all part of the fight or flight stimulus, which I'm going to come back to in a little bit. This shallow breathing can make you think you're not getting enough air, which can lead you to panic even more. So it's a kind of cyclical thing. Stop, close your eyes, and breathe in. And do each for a count of 3. You will find that that will help to regulate your breathing and to bring it back to a normal, stable, healthy kind of level that you feel more comfortable with. It's like pressing a reset button on your breathing, essentially. So that really, really helps. That's a breathing technique that I find helps for me. I also find for myself walking helps, and just getting out of a situation, if possible, that's causing me some sort of anxiety, and just going for a walk can really help. For 2 reasons. One, the fresh air does, it sounds like a cliche, like a really odd piece of advice, like so obvious, but it's actually true. The fresh air will help you to reset your mind, it will help you to reset your breathing, to refocus, to calm down. And also, I find that walking helps me with things such as restless leg syndrome, which is also another signal, another sign of anxiety. And what that does is that keeps me awake at night. But by going for a walk, I find that I'm using my leg muscles, I'm getting that exercise, it's stopping me from having that issue. Now, I know that like the last thing you want to do when you're panic stricken with anxiety is to go out for a walk or to even move off the spot, but trust me, if you can make yourself do that, you can take back that control, and that really, really helps. So really, I mean, I say walking, but any form of exercise, and it sounds like an obvious thing, but it really can help you to refocus. Try to sleep, which sounds like an easy thing to say, and it's really not, and believe me, I have sleepless nights. at least once a month. It's awful. It can be so horribly draining. But when I do struggle to sleep, what I do is I lie on my back, because that completely opens up the chest and allows you to breathe properly. Try that breathing technique. Shut your eyes and just breathe in and breathe out. Not necessarily breathe out through your mouth, through your nose, but just concentrate on that regulated, rhythmic breathing, and it will help you. The other thing is keep the room as cold as you possibly can, because you need your body temperature to seriously plummet before you can go to sleep. And I find that white noise helps, and you can recreate this by downloading an app on your phone, or even by just turning on a bedroom fan. Trust me, an ordinary fan will create a white noise sound, and if you can get your brain to focus on that white noise, you will drift off to sleep. It's the most magical thing. The other thing I do is carry mints around with me, because anything minty will settle the stomach, and when you're feeling that anxiety, those butterflies in the stomach, that horrible sicky feeling, it will help to settle that. Mint tea can also help, drinking peppermint tea. However, don't drink too much of that, because it can lead to acid reflux, which can in turn make you feel a bit icky, and that could well bring on some form of anxiety. So everything in moderation. That said, cut down on caffeine. When I'm having a really bad period, I tend to really cut out caffeine in my life, because it just makes you jittery, jumpy, on edge. If you're not sleeping, you're using it as a substitute, and that in turn will make you not sleep, because caffeine is a stimulant. And there you go, the cycle goes on and on. Anxiety is a fight or flight response, let's say it clearly. It affects us physically, as our bodies prepare to do one or the other. The adrenaline pumps, our breathing becomes shallow, muscles tense, we want to go to the bathroom, let's face it. I mean, anxiety is horrible for that. But realising that these are normal reactions to a kind of scary or stressful situation will help you to then regulate these things and bring yourself back down to a calm position. It can take around about 20 minutes to come out of an anxiety attack, but if you can learn these signals and you can go, I know what that is, that's anxiety, you can slowly start to work on bringing yourself out of these things. I can bring myself out of an attack pretty quickly now, and I'm quite proud of that, because I've started to recognise what those warning signals are. Sometimes you're not going to know exactly what's triggered it, but if you can recognise those reactions, you can bring yourself out. Now, something I have as well is it looks a bit like a dog toy, and I was going to show you, but actually I'm not going to show you. But it's a massage ball, and you can get them on any good online retailing site. Also works just as well as a tennis ball. And what you do is you put it at various points on your back, wherever you're feeling stressed, so across your shoulders, across the centre of your back, down in the small of your back. And it helps to increase the blood flow, and that in turn helps to relax the muscles, which means that you're not feeling that tension. When you tense up, your shoulders go up around your ears, and you don't really even realise you're carrying that tension a lot of the time until your back really starts to ache. And what this can do is it just relaxes those muscles, and I find it even helps with my digestion, weirdly. If you're having trouble digesting something, just using it on the small of your back will really help to get that flow going. And that in turn can stop that bloatedness, which can also in turn lead to some anxiety. Now, if your anxiety is through planning a big event, a big birthday party, a wedding, anything like that, I understand. I've had this from planning things in the past. I am a total control freak. So what I like to do is make sure that I'm still in control. I make lists. I check off tasks as I complete them, so that I know I'm on top of things, that I know I haven't forgotten something. Having that element of control is so important. It can really, really help you. Now, sometimes it's unavoidable though, because you're not going to necessarily be able to control every aspect of your life. But if you can get those things that you can control under control, you will then be better prepared to focus on the things you can't control. I know that sounds confusing, but it's absolutely true. Controlling and planning and focusing on the bits of your life that you can control, knowing that you haven't dropped the ball on any of those things, mean that when something unexpected comes up, you're better prepared to deal with it, because you've done and dealt with the other stuff. Now, most importantly, talk. Talking is so important. Now, I have been lucky to receive some counselling sessions in the past, and I've had some very understanding friends and family who've been there for me. And one of the most important people in my life at the moment, and has been for the last 10 years, is my husband, who has been there really from like the worst, lowest points right up to the best. And he has this great habit of helping me put things into perspective by explaining to me that the situation is something that I can handle, is something that I can deal with, and also help me to plan things, to come up with a solution to a problem that might be causing some kind of stress or anxiety. He's been so supportive and so helpful. So having someone like that in your life is so, so important. Just find that one person who you can always turn to for advice. And sometimes talking to somebody who's been through things can be quite helpful as well. I'm always here, I'm always there. In my DMs, they're open. I'm there, you can private message me on Facebook if you have me as a friend. I'm always willing to talk, I'm always willing to listen. And I think having someone to listen can be really, really important as well. It's not necessarily about receiving advice off of somebody, it's about having somebody there who will sit down and take the time to listen to you. That in itself is very, very important. When you find that one person who can make it can make a huge difference. There's an old saying, something about a problem shared is a problem halved, and it's absolutely true. Knowing that you've just got it out there, it's no longer just trapped in your head, that somebody else is aware of the situation, that can make a huge difference. So please do open up to whoever is there to open up. But like I say, if you're having really serious issues with anxiety, depression or stress, you really do need to go to see a GP. And yes, it can be a struggle and it can seem like that they're not taking the time to take you seriously, but persist. If it's that serious, you really do need that kind of help. But I hope I've given you some coping techniques today, that I've tried to show you that actually you're not alone, that there's people that have been through these sorts of things as well. And I hope I managed to help bring some kind of perspective and some kind of hope, if that's at all possible. But yes, I am going to be trying to do these vlogs more often. They're just going to be completely random topics that pretty much just come into my head. Some of it's going to be life advice stuff like today. Some of it's just going to be stuff that I'm interested in, because I think that's what I'm going to do. Rather than trying to focus on one particular thing, I'm just going to do as and when something pops into my head, because I think that's the best way for me to approach things. So I hope that helped. Hopefully see you soon. Goodbye.